For all of us giving the ACCA exam, every time an exam comes, it's going to be extremely intimidating and scary. Our only goal being, can we get that 50 to ensure we get through this exam? But what if we can tell you a few neat tricks, some cheat codes, some hacks to turn your 50 into a 60 without any additional effort? So in this video, guys, we are going to discuss about certain exam tips and tricks for all of your fundamental papers, F1 to F9. So guys, my name is Pratham. I am the co-founder and CEO of Zell Education, wherein we've trained, over the last 5-6 years, we've trained thousands of candidates for ACCA. And these are some of the tips and tricks which have helped them clear the exams in the first attempt. Now, before I get into the actual video, please do subscribe, because not only will we post more videos such as these, during your exam week, during the future, we will be posting tips and tricks for specific subjects that can help you clear the exam in the first go. Tip number 1, use 2 exam kits. Let me ask you this. Which publisher do you use to study for ACCA? ACCA globally has 2 famous publishers. One is BPP, the other is Kaplan. Most students only take one publisher and study the exam kit from that one publisher. What we suggest is buy the exam kit of the second publisher, take advantage of the variety of the MCQs, prepare yourself on those lines and then enter the exam. We also have seen students who take one publisher and redo the exam kit again and again, which is not a test of your conceptual clarity, rather it would be a test of your memory. So don't fall for that. Invest, buy 2 publishers, give the exam, the chances of you clearing will increase dramatically. Tip number 2, do not get stuck on any one particular question in the exam. Guys, it all comes down to time management, okay? Especially, so let's say you're giving a skill level paper, section A and B are all MCQs. At any point, if you get stuck on a question, remember that each question has only a limited amount of time that you can add to it. If you feel you're running out of that time, do not hang on to that question trying to solve it because you feel you can get it or you're so close. Instead, move ahead and use that time to score an additional 2 to 4 marks in some other question. Once again, do not get stuck at any question. Move on. There will be enough opportunity for you to score to pass the exam. We have seen students who get stuck, and if the MCQ, let's say, has a maximum of 2 minutes, they waste 5, 6, 7 minutes, and that's another 6-8 marks which they have potentially lost because they've been stuck in this one question. So keep moving on, answer the questions you know. Any which ways you'll have a better time than getting stuck at that one simple question. So tip number 3, in all these MCQ based professional qualifications, obviously from the multiple choices, one is the correct answer, but the others might be, they won't be random answers that are obviously not going to fall under your calculations final answer. The examiner plans it in such a way that he expects a lot of students to make mistakes and come to a wrong answer, an incorrect answer, and that answer is also one of your multiple choices. So a lot of students solve it sometimes incorrectly, get excited that their final answer is part of the multiple choice, and they mark that. Do not fall for that. So the simple tip is, when you calculate your answer, re-look at it, recheck it, because it most likely will be correct. But just do not be fooled to that, as the examiner has specifically designed it in such a way that you calculate the wrong answer. Tip number 4, use the flag option. So when you would, let's say in school, you would be giving a written exam, and you had the presence of mind to skip certain questions you did know, thinking I'll come back to it. You could always circle it, you could tick mark it, and you could always physically see which questions were missed. In the CB format, you can't do that. Flagging is the way that you land up ensuring you don't land up missing a question. So as a continuation to our previous tips, right, which is skipping the questions and time management, when you come across a question that you're not sure of, that you don't want to spend time on right now, flag it and move on. Towards the end of the exam, you can go through all your flagged questions only, try and solve them, and then complete the exam. So tip number 5, read the requirement of section C. Guys, as soon as the exam starts, flip over to section C and read the requirement. That requirement will give you an instant indication whether you would be able to solve section C or not. Section C, by the way, is the more scoring one, because unlike an MCQ, which is either a 0 or a 2. In the subjective part, which is section C, you can actually show steps and you can score higher marks by attempting the entire question. Also, at Zell, we any which ways prefer that our students start with section C as it's the more scoring one. Tip number 6. The ACCA exams do not have any negative markings. This means that you should not miss any question. Earlier in the tips, I mentioned that if you come across an MCQ which you're not sure of, leave it, move on to the next one. Flag it and move on to the next one. At the end of the exam, come back to these questions. Now, towards the end, if you still don't know the answer, right, take a guess, take a fluke guess and just mark any one of the 4 choices, because if there's a slight chance that one of them will be correct, which you mark, that gives you a 25% chance of getting this answer correct. Versus if you skip it, it's a guaranteed 0. So do not miss any MCQ in any of the exams. And guys, tip number 7. All the other tips will not work if you do not appear for a minimum of 2 to 3 mock exams per paper. We do not allow most of our students to appear for any of the exams if they do not show us how many mocks they've solved and they've actually cleared the mocks. Think about it like this. Your mock exams are your safety net. If you appear for a mock exam before the actual paper in a proper environment, right, in an exam environment, lock the door, throw the keys away for those 3 hours, just sit and give the exam. Going through that experience of actually solving the questions, going through that 3-hour momentum, doing it in a CBE format will give you more confidence than any amount of preparation for the final exam. Do not underestimate the importance of mock exams. Tip number 8. Now this might be sort of a part, like a culmination of a couple of tips I've already said, but I'm going to say it in a much more holistic manner right now. You have 3 hours, 15 minutes to complete the exam. That is 195 minutes for a 100-mark paper. Simple math will tell you that means for 1 mark, you have 1.95 minutes. So the best way to ensure that you manage your time in the exam is thinking if it's a 2-mark MCQ, you have 1.95 into 2, that is 3.9 minutes per MCQ. If you take longer than that for an MCQ, you are taking away time from your other questions. So it is extremely important that you remember this equation, this ratio, 1.59 minutes per mark, and your goal when you enter the exam has to be that you will enter the exam to complete 100% of the paper, 100 marks. If you lose, let's say you get out with only writing 90 marks, it's so easy to score a few marks in those balanced 10, the last question, and we've seen students who score 48, 49 and they've missed only that last 10-mark question. If they would have just started it and attempted it, they would have easily passed. It makes such a big difference when you don't complete the exam. So the reason I'm saying both of these things together is your time management is going to help you complete the entire exam, and completing the entire exam shoots up your chances of clearing the paper in the first go. And here is a bonus tip from us to you. The ACCA website, accaglobal.com, has certain study support resources. So as you can see on the screen, let's say for example, you are appearing for the performance management paper. You can go on the website, find these support resources for performance management, and ACCA provides a plethora of such features. They have something known as technical articles, they have something known as specimen exams, and so on and so forth. All of these are extremely helpful, and the most important one is known as the CBE practice platform. When you are practicing for your CBE exams, when you're actually solving questions, when you're solving mock exams, instead of doing it on paper or doing it on Excel in your own computer, go onto this platform. This is how exactly the exam will be simulated in the real exam. If you practice here, the advantage is that in the exam, you will only be focused on the problem and the answer. You are not going to be worried about the process, what is allowed, what is not allowed. It significantly enhances your chances of clearing the exams. So guys, I hope that these tips have been helpful. If you are planning on appearing for either the coming attempt or any of the others, these tips will remain evergreen when it comes to ACCA exams. So and if you all have any more questions, as usual, please do leave them in the comments. We'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you. So guys, wait. Before you leave, I'm going to leave you all with the same old. Do you know what the difference between you and a successful version of you is? The successful version of you would not miss out on subscribing to this channel today.